Trying to watch our time so we get started on time.
Looks like you've got a good participation.
Good group for a week before a holiday.
Yeah.
Steve, we told all our team members you were going to be giving out gift cards. That could have something to do with it. I don't know.
Yeah, the gift cards we give out when you reside in Northwest Georgia are usually to fine establishments like Ollie's Warehouse or places like that. So, oh, no, I love that place. I go in there and spend hours.
Yep.
So tell them they are in the mail, Michael. They are in the mail.
I certainly will.
Okay, I see the hour is 10 o'clock, and I'll go ahead and call this meeting of the Board of Community Supervision to order here on December the 16th, 10 a.m. I'll go ahead and ask Board Liaison Aura Russell if you could complete our roll call, Aura.
Good morning, board members. I'm going to call the roll now. Terry Barnard.
I'm here.
Candace Brose. Jacqueline Bunn.
Present.
Heath Elliott. He's not able to make it. He had to attend a funeral. Sonia Fillingane.
Present, and I apologize, I'm joining by phone due to difficulty accessing through Google Meet.
Judy Fitzgerald.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Present.
Jimmy Kitchens. Nick Norton. Sheriff Norton is unable to join us this morning. Tyrone Oliver.
Present.
Steve Queen.
Present.
Timothy Ward.
Present.
Tina Piper.
Present.
She's present. Chairman Queen, you do have a quorum.
Okay, very good. And welcome, everyone. Glad you're able to join us. I know it's difficult this time of year, right before the holidays. So I appreciate everybody working this into their schedule so we can conduct this important business. We'll go ahead and move on to the invocation. I'll ask General Counsel James Knox if he'll be glad to deliver that message for us.
Let us pray. God, we thank you for this day. Thank you for your blessings. We ask now all we do, all we say be pleasing in thy sight, and that this meeting, God, will order community supervision. And we thank you and praise you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, James. Appreciate that. One thing I'd like to ask, if everybody could mute themselves, make sure that you're muted unless you're making a comment or making a presentation. That way we don't get too much background noise. Aura is trying to take down the minutes of our meeting, and that background noise really interferes with that. So I'd appreciate everybody doing that. Once again, welcome and Merry Christmas to everyone. Can you believe that 2021 is flown right by? Last year, drug along like a snail, and this year flew by like a freight train. So we'll be in 2022 in just a couple of weeks, and ready to get at that. We'll go ahead and move on to our next agenda item. That's approval of our proposed agenda for today. If everyone's had a chance to look over at that agenda, I would ask for an approval.
Move we adopt the agenda. Terry Barnard.
Okay.
Second.
And have a sec. Who seconded it? Was that you, Tim? Thank you, Tim. Appreciate it. All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So moved. All right. We'll move on to review and approval of our minutes from our September the 16th, 2021 meeting. If everyone's had a chance to review those, I'll entertain a motion to approve those.
Sonia Fillingham, so moved.
Thank you, Sonia.
Tom,
Tyrone, you second. Thank you. All in favor? Signify by saying aye.
aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, so moved. Okay. And now we'll move on to the Commissioner's report. Michael, Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning to members of the board. Before I get in my remarks, let me say just from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Before the meeting started, you can hear some of the joking and the laughter, and I believe that says a lot. And I don't think I've ever had a situation where I've called on any one of you all and have not had the support that I was looking for. And I just want to thank each and every one of you. It's all of us are involved in a tough business, a challenging business during challenging times. But I couldn't be more honored to work alongside you and have you all as a colleague. Good news starting out Christmas spirit, Clark's kids. I'm really proud of DCS and the coordination with Sherry Chambers. We were assigned, I believe, 24 kids. We went above that. 8 additional kids were adopted as a result, and that's just for Clark's kids. But then again, we have so much taking place at the circuit levels, just like many of you do. So it is great to see the spirit of giving, and I just want to commend Team DCS for that. Last year, we joined Special Olympics for the first time, and I'm also proud of Team DCS. This year, we were awarded Agency of the Year for our participation. Coming up for this year for the Polar Plunge, we've set $5,000 for a goal. Let me invite you all to join us in the Polar Plunge if you so desire. It is a good time, and it's for a great cause. But again, I think that speaks directly. We talk about one officer, one family, one community, and I think that speaks volumes to what we're about. I'm sure R will be sending you the information. We have our GPAX conference is February 16th through the 18th. It is going to be at Callaway Gardens. Would love for you to drop in, attend all or a portion of it, and be with us. I know the staff always appreciate you being involved. Additionally, we are hosting, when I say we, I should say the state of Georgia is hosting the American Probation Parole Association Conference, January 30th through February 2nd. It's going to be at the Waverly over by Truist Park, actually. So while we say it's in Atlanta, technically it's in Cobb County. We have several that are going to be doing presentations for that. Would love to have you drop in. It's usually in excess of 1,000 attendees. I certainly know that Parole and GDC and DJJ are involved in that, as well as many of the other private and municipal probation entities. So I hope you'll be able to join that. I want to give accolades to Scott Maurer. He is co-chairing the National Program Committee for that, and has done a wonderful job. And I know Jay Porter and many of her team members have assisted with that. But it'll be a good opportunity for Georgia to shine collectively. I had the opportunity about, I would say, almost a month ago to speak before and testify before the Senate Public Safety Committee on the rising crime in Atlanta. Dr. Nick Powell did a wonderful job in preparing the data. I think instead of operating off of assumptions and innuendos in one case or two case, let the data speak and let the data tell the story. And for DCS, it told a wonderful story in that while we cannot explain what is driving the crime, what we can matter of factly say is those under our supervision are not contributing to the increase of it. Our numbers, when looked at for the past 3 years, they are down in all categories. And it doesn't matter whether they're on parole or probation. That's across the board. They are down. So we were pleased to be able to share that story. Again, if you have the data and the research to support it, I prefer to let that tell our story instead of operating off of one-off cases. We're in a business with human behavior. We're never, as you know, going to control it absolutely. There will always, unfortunately, be cases that go south on us. And just as I told the committee, our agency will never promise to be perfect, but we will always promise to strive for perfection. In addition to that, we're working with the governor's office and the Georgia State Patrol and the Atlanta Crime Suppression Unit. We have officers assigned to the state patrol that actually ride along with the state troopers. Our officers know these areas. They know the people. And it's really worked out good. I was talking to Lieutenant Colonel Hitchens the other day that his folks are learning a lot about community supervision, and our folks are learning a lot about state troopers' roles and responsibility. And the interesting thing, neither of them want each other's job. That's what I find interesting about it. But it has worked well, and it truly has. If you see the colonel's crime statistics, it truly is making a difference. Following that, we do what we call, and many of you are familiar with, a glad you ask, when we have a high profile incident. And we actually go down, we dissect that case, we look at it, we look at what we could have done better, we determine whether or not it was supervised according to policy. We just did our annual review on those, looking back the past 3 years. And I'm pleased to say that our high profile incidents are actually decreasing and are actually going down. And that is very, very encouraging. We will continue to dissect that even further. I was talking to Ms. Ross this morning about looking at how many are involved in domestics, what time are these occurring, the age of the individual, the supervisee. So there's a lot of things that we will continue to look at, and we'll certainly keep the board apprised of that. Our annual report, I believe I copied you all on it or sent it to you. That is a reflection of the good work of DCS. We know that we don't do it in a silo. We do it because of your support, of course, the governor's support, as well as the legislature. So I would encourage you, if you've not had the time, to take the time to read the annual report. We try to make it a quick read. And I told them, for my purposes, put a lot of pictures in it. That works for me. But it is good news. We continue with our COVID protocol. I will share with you that in January, we will go back to meeting in person and having larger gatherings. We will continue to follow the CDC guidelines, but we are going to move back to a sense of normalcy, if you will. And I want to commend James Bergman again for leading that statewide effort. Legislative update, we really have no legislation to be introduced. I will certainly keep you informed. Right now, we're not aware of any legislation that will be introduced that will affect our business. But again, we will keep a close eye on that. Our budget update, while we're not getting an increase, we're not having a decrease either. And that's good. I think one of the best things that can happen is us to operate in a stable environment. We continue to do that. We continue to support the governor's budget recommendation, whatever that may be, but we continue to get the support that we need. One thing that I get asked a lot is what keeps you awake at night, and quite honestly, aside from the staff safety, it's when the courts return to full operational capacity. Our caseloads are lower than they have ever been. Well, the big driver of that is because the courts are at a reduced capacity. And I shared in a recent interview that basically the well is dry for us. We have truly done everything we can do to keep caseloads lower. My biggest concern is when these courts ramp up, what's coming our way. And I'm sure Commissioner Ward and Chairman Barnard also have some of the same concerns that things are going to ramp up. And I'm just hoping we're going to be prepared for it. With that being said, there was talk about, of course, using the CARES Act and COVID relief fund for the courts. Not unusual. Nobody was thinking about DCS. Not just the individuals coming our way under supervision, but one of our core missions is to serve the courts. When new cases come on, we have to take pleas, write cases up. But there was no thought in that. I will say I'm very appreciative of the governor's office when we brought that to their concern and to their attention. They immediately responded. They recognize what a vital part we are in the court services delivery. And they have and will be providing funding for officers to go and have basically part-time positions to work court. We are planning to call back retired officers where they are needed because they're familiar with the court, they're familiar with the personnel, but it really is about public safety, because if we can't do that, then officers supervising cases have to be taken off the street to work court. So we have that shored up. And we'll keep you posted along the way as we continue to do that. The last thing I have, and I'm sure it's nothing new to you all, there's been a discussion of increasing pay amongst law enforcement, regardless of what entity they're in. I was really troubled 2 days ago when I saw that working at Hobby Lobby, you're going to make over $18 an hour. Now, no offense to those at Hobby Lobby. I love Hobby Lobby. I wish my wife didn't love it as much. But here's what's concerning. That individual working at Hobby Lobby is making more than the starting salary of our officer. Oh, and by the way, our officers are required to have 4-year degrees. They also, when they go out the door, they wear a ballistics vest. They carry a firearm. They work in communities that you and I usually are afraid to drive in. And I think it is a sad statement for law enforcement as a whole when you have someone working in the retail industry making more than their starting salary. And there just has to be something done about that. That's just all there is to it, or we're going to continue to see fewer and fewer people come to the profession. Most of us came to it because we wanted to make a difference. But let's also remember those same people want to be able to feed their families and provide a college education to their families and a stable livelihood to their families. And right now, with what we're having to compete with, it just gets harder and harder. So I appreciate you. I appreciate you allowing me to get on my soapbox for a moment. But it is a very serious time for law enforcement, and something has to be done about it. So with no other questions, or if there are questions before, I just wanted to wish you all a Merry Christmas to you and your loved ones, and certainly a prosperous New Year. So with that being said, I'll entertain any questions from the board.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Commissioner, thanks for the update, the report, all the positive information you've given to us. Can you give us an idea what our officer retention rate looks like now? Are you guys having more difficulty hiring these days, or are we in pretty good shape?
Well, yeah, good question. What we have found for the first time, we've always, when I say enjoyed a pretty low turnover rate, that's been the case. We are still lower in our turnover rate. We're not suffering. Here's a concern, though. For the first time And I know the creation of DCS, we are starting to see a higher turnover in our officer ranks than we are in our administrative and civilian ranks. And that speaks to the concern that I was just addressing. It's still relatively low, but that's the first time that crossover has ever happened. And that is cause for concern, because I'd have no belief based on research other than to believe that that is going to continue to go in that direction.
Very good. Does any other board member have a comment or question for the commissioner? No. Michael, thank you for that report. We appreciate it. Appreciate your leadership and everything that all the personnel with the department from top to bottom do every day.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Merry Christmas to all.
Thank you. And I want to acknowledge, before we move on, I want to acknowledge that Commissioner Kitchens joined the call. Jimmy, glad to have you on the call. Appreciate you joining us.
Yes, thank you. I've been on the run this morning. I've been trying to get here.
All right. Well, you finally made it.
Y'all have a Merry Christmas.
You too. Okay, we'll move on to the next item, which is the committee reports, and starting with the community supervision report and Patrick Halsey. Patrick, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Chairman Queen and members of the board. Merry Christmas to all of you. I want to start off first this morning speaking about some of the great team members we have working for the field division with DCS. First, I want to talk about Cso Tommy Robertson from the Cherokee Circuit, who was presented with the Accountability Court Star Award by the Council of Accountability Court Judges. He was presented this award in October at the CACJ Annual Training Conference, and the Star Award recognizes an outstanding individuals for their service and dedication to Georgia's accountability courts. Cso Robertson is an outstanding officer and a great representative of DCS. Next, we have Cso Todd Scott, who is also from the Cherokee Circuit, and he was presented with a Sheriff's Commendation for Officer Official Actions by the Gordon County Sheriff Austin back in November. It stems from back in March of 2020 and April of 2020, Cso Scott assisted in an investigation, arrest, and conviction of 2 individuals for the offenses of trafficking and distribution of methamphetamines, receiving stolen property, and firearms offenses. And during the course of the investigation, they also found 2 stolen automobiles, an illegally held firearm, and along with over a kilo of methamphetamines destined for resale within the state. They also found $25,000 in real property and U.S. currency, and that was seized for the local government. And Cso Scott, again, is another one of those great examples of the work that our team members do each day. We also have Cso Danny Brumlow, and he was recognized by the GBI earlier this month. Along with his regular duties conducting supervision, Cso Brumlow is also assigned to our state Safe Streets Task Force and works hard hand in hand with our state and local government law enforcement partners. And just so I don't leave anything out, I just want to make sure I'm going to give the quote of what was stated about Officer Brumlow. They said Officer Brumlow has been instrumental in assisting in several very large, very important, and very complex criminal investigations. Several of these cases would not have been successful, or in some cases, possible at all without Officer Brumlow's assistance and investigative actions, which resulted and continues to dismantle large illegal operations. The cases Officer Brumlow has been involved in has had a huge community impact throughout the entire Northwest Georgia and also Southeastern Tennessee area. And you know, this is just part of what our officers do every day. And I'll let you know that this recognition received by these officers is work they do outside of their normal duties they do every day as a DC officer. So this is extra work that they put in to ensure the safety of the citizens of the state. And I'm just proud of each one of those. I'd also like to recognize Joy Ward. Joy was recently selected as the new Chief Community Supervision Officer for the Okmulgee Circuit, and he became the new chief effective November 1st. And so congratulations to Chief Ward. Recently, we added an additional 25 new peer support team members. So we have a peer support team, and it provides support to our DCS employees involved in critical incidents which may adversely affect their personal or professional well-being. We previously only had 8 peer support team members to support an agency of about 2,000 employees. So these additional support team members will ensure that we can adequately provide that emotional and tangible support to our staff throughout times of professional or personal crisis. I just want to let you know, these are not 25 additional staff members, but these are 25 current staff members that have volunteered to provide the support additional to their current duty. So again, our staff is always trying to do something extra to provide that support for everyone. Last week, we were able to present an overview of DCS to the current GBI basic training class. So as we work with our local and state law enforcement partners, it's just so important that they have the fundamental knowledge of DCS and the services that we provide. We found out that the students really enjoyed the class and received insight into DCS, and we're hoping to continue to provide those trainings in the future. Over the last 4 months, the Field Division has participated in 11 joint operations with our state and local enforcement partners, local law enforcement partners. So these operations have resulted in 59 arrests and 88 firearms confiscated. This continued efforts with our partners continue to be successful. You know, our goal with DCS is to provide those individuals on our supervision with opportunities for success. And we're also tasked with being able to provide public safety to the citizens of Georgia. By partnering with our local law enforcement professionals with these joint operations, we are able to ensure that public safety. And finally, I want to talk about our new supervision model. So over the last year, we kind of shifted our supervision model to what we call our person-centered supervision model. With this model, we focus on our efforts on high-risk individuals and ensure that they receive the assistance and resources they need to be successful. Since we moved to this model, we have been able to spend more time with those individuals under our supervision. Our caseloads, like Michael said earlier, at the lowest we've had in at least the 20 years that I've been in community supervision. These are the lowest caseloads we've had. And this reduction in our caseloads has also provided a benefit where we've seen over the last year, there has been a reduction in the number of arrests of those individuals on our supervision. Now, just want to let you know, although we have seen success with our new supervision model and we're critiquing it every day to make sure that we're on path to continue with this, and this reduction in our caseload, this does not mean that our caseloads are low. They still remain high, and we're still working on ways to try to reduce that, because we found that the benefit of having a reduction in our caseloads provides benefits to those that are under our supervision. And that concludes my report for the Field Division. Do you all have any questions for me? If not, Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy holidays. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. We appreciate that report and good information. Always good to hear the accolades that our staff receives and the promotions, and definitely the new and innovative things that are coming from the Field Division. All right, we'll move on to Michelle Stanley. And Michelle, your report on reentry services. Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning, Chairman Queen. Let me see if I can adjust this echo. To the members of the board, just a few updates and efforts from the reentry services. The division was honored to partner with Emory University School of Theology this fall semester with their religion, prison, and social justice class. This class worked to build connections with community-based partners, and they spent time learning about reentry services, our current practices, our current projects and initiatives, and was trying to determine just how they can engage and get involved in the community as well. From this partnership, we was able to bring on board 8 interns to also work alongside of us, and they have been focused mainly in our Clayton circuit, working alongside of our senior lead community coordinator, Carolyn Johnson, and the transitional employment project that we have in that circuit that I've spoken about previously. We also had an opportunity to participate with the Clark Atlanta University Public Administration Department through a panel discussion with the students. And that conversation focused a lot around the impact of services during the pandemic, if we were able to still meet the need of the individuals we are serving in the midst of the pandemic. And they were just interested to hear how we were innovative and none of those services went lacking and how we continue to move forward even today. As it relates to housing, we continue to stay the course with placing individuals in RPH. However, I'm proud to say that we continue to increase our Thor providers, that continue to increase that directory that's available to anyone that's in need of housing. It has grown by 20% since just July, and we're up to 90 providers, and we continue to work in our communities to bring individuals on. As we know, we have a lot of individuals that experience homeless issues, and we want to ensure we're able to meet the capacity that's around us. Also, we continue to partner with our other state agencies in our communities. We're working in a pilot project with DBHDD to try to address housing for our mental health individuals and utilizing their voucher program to support some of their efforts, and also working alongside with DCA with their ESG program, which allows us to tap into some respite care, some emergency shelter placement for individuals that are in need of just a short stay. As we all know, we have a number of individuals needing housing, but we don't always have enough funding that can support that. So as individuals are transitioning back and starting back to work, we're always looking for creative ways to ensure that we can offset some of that cost until they're able to be self-supportive on their own. Just a few highlights from our community coordinators. Want to start with first giving an accolade to our recent promoted senior lead, Community Coordinator Carolyn Johnson. So we're pleased to see her come into her new role and know she will continue to do great work in Clayton, as well as support her region that has been assigned to her as well. On yesterday, Community Coordinator Carol Chateau over in the Douglas Circuit was awarded with the Civic Service Award by the Douglas County CSB in appreciation for her dedication to successful reentry by providing essential means, linkage to service, and providing stable housing for our population. Community Cop Circuit hosted a healthcare fair in partnership with Walmart. This community coordinator was on hand to enroll individuals for insurance under the Affordable Healthcare Program in conjunction with the clinic provided by Walmart. They were able to offer low-cost medical service to those transitioning back into our community, as well as they was able to provide mental health, other physical help, and supportive services outside of just the clinician services provided through the clinic. So we're pleased to continue to have this partnership with Walmart and hope to see it expand into other areas as well. Judith Framborough in the Atlanta Circuit Community Coordinator hosted a community employment and healthcare fair, and she had 3 partners on site, Vision Inc., CORE, and the Fulton County Board of Health, who were providing not only COVID vaccinations and booster shots, but they were doing blood pressure, cholesterol screenings. They were doing screenings for diabetes, eye exams, and a range of other services that could be done there on site, as well as we had 6 employers that were there, as well as 2 housing providers. We were looking to be able to offer a one point of access for those that we were serving in that Atlantic Circuit to be able to address all of their medical care, employment, and housing needs. Additionally, we continue to try and expand our resource capacity beyond our identified reentry sites. And Kawan Reese, our regional reentry coordinator, has been working alongside of the chief, Rogers, down in the Cordele Circuit to increase employment capacity in our rural areas. And that partnership has been working alongside of South Georgia Technical College, the Economic Development, as well as the Industrial Development Council. And that has been ongoing, and we're looking forward to additional things that we'll see down in South Georgia. That's just a few highlights that go on out in our circuits with our community coordinators. But I have to take an opportunity at this moment just to say I'm so pleased to work alongside a great group of individuals in reentry services. We work hard in our communities to try and ensure that we're able to provide services to those that need it most, as well as try and give that time back to our community supervision officers that they can focus on supervision and not have to work and worry about things needed in reentry. And we all know it takes a partnership to make everything work and things go well. That is my report from Reentry Services. Are there any questions for me at this time?
Anyone have any questions or comments for Michelle? Michelle, I'll just say I'm always impressed by your report. And as far as success of our clients, getting back out in the community and being successful, what you guys is probably the most vital role. It really is. that's probably the make or break difference on many, many people's lives. So thank you. Thank you to you and your team, and keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And happy holidays and Merry Christmas to all.
And to you too. Okay, we'll move on to the Misdemeanor Probation Oversight Report. Tim Lewis.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to all you board members. Wish you all a wonderful holiday season. There are currently 74 entities registered, 51 of which are governmental departments and 23 are private operations. The 2022 entity registration process is underway, and there are no significant changes in those numbers anticipated at this time. We have 775 registered individuals working with the entities. There are 790 service agreements in place, 164 served by governmental departments, and 626 by private entities. From February through December the 14th, we conducted 165 virtual training sessions that was attended by 468 different individuals with a total attendance of 4,339 and participation from 66 of the entities. As the year concludes, I'd like to thank the following individuals for their collaboration and serving as guest presenters in our training program in 2021. From the Georgia Commission of Family Violence, that'd be Executive Director April Ross and Jamila Farrell. From the GBI, Lindsay Gardner, their managing attorney, and Agent Clint Dixon with the Cobb County Police Department. From the Task Force on Human Trafficking, Erica Mortensen, who serves as their unit supervisor, as well as Victor Williams and Elena Acosta. Our MPOU team has performed admirably in 2021 and continues to provide exemplary support and oversight to the misdemeanor probation providers across the state. Each team member has conducted their assigned compliance reviews for 2021, and we're in the process of compiling the data related to trends so as that we can identify specific needs and target our areas of focus in 2022. Again, let me say how much we appreciate our former director, Barbara Neville. Momentarily, Barbara will be providing the information on the proposed board rule revisions. So with that said, Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report, and happy to take any questions you or the board may have.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. This is Terry Barnard. Tim, thanks for the report. You may not have this information at your hand, but I was just curious. What is the average length of a misdemeanor probation now in the state? How long would one actually serve a misdemeanor probation?
Yeah, Mr. Barnard, that's not information that we would have on hand, and don't know through our quarterly report. The length of service time is not something we currently track.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
I didn't
sir.
know if you did that. I knew that felony probation, there is some documentation on that. I didn't know if misdemeanor did so. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions or comments for Mr. Lewis? No. Tim, thanks for that report, and thanks for all the good work that you and your unit do. And I'll definitely thank Barbara during the transition to your leadership. That was smooth, and appreciate her assistance with that, and look forward to working with you in the coming years.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll move on to the next agenda item. That's our Georgia Commission on Family Violence report, and Ms. Ross.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And also I want to echo and say, well, I was echoing, but I want to say happy holidays to everyone, and a happy new year as well. I want to give a quick update on what we've been doing at the commission. Back in November, we hosted a virtual annual conference. The conference was great. Once again, we did make the decision sort of at the last minute to pivot to a virtual event because at the time COVID numbers were going back up, and then by the time the conference came, they were going back down. So, you can never tell what to do these days, but we had still an excellent conference. I'd love to give you a save the date and a preview into the next year's conference. Our theme is widening the lens, creating an inclusive response to domestic violence. And the dates of that conference will be September 26th through the 28th. and I don't think I've done this before, but if ever any DCS board members are interested in attending that conference, please get a message over to me and I will make that that possible for you to attend if you'd like to. Also, our Fatality Review Grant Program has completed one report this year. They completed the Comparative Analysis Report, and that's basically a data report that looked at Georgia regionally to compare the domestic violence response and the domestic violence incident numbers and different things, and to give you something that you can compare areas that you have similar demographics and similar population numbers as well. So that's a report that we have already completed. And then before the end of this year, we'll have our second report completed under the Fatality Review Project. That report is on victimization by gender. And that's an area we haven't really focused on in an in-depth way. And so we're going to have that report out and begin a series of reports that begin to look at victimization by gender. We also have the Support for Murder-Suicide Response Network, and that project has been coming along very well. We presented a proposal to the governor's office through OPB to fund a survivor support group for murder-suicide survivors, which are basically the family members and the people left behind. And that is it's an incident that, you know, occurs probably way too frequently in our state, and we have lots of survivors. We sent mailers out to 500 sheriff's departments, and in response, some of the sheriffs actually posted some of the information we provided on their social media accounts, and we've started receiving responses from survivors we didn't even know about the incidents. And so it's certainly a great opportunity for us to connect and find those survivors, and so help us with better tracking, but also reach out and help those survivors know that there is something available for them. So we'll be kicking that off next year, and we're looking forward to a tremendous response from that project. We've completed 17 law enforcement trainings this year as well through our law enforcement grant. We also, as Tim mentioned, we've worked with him on trainings for the probation officers here. We have a grant with the U.S. Attorney's Office called Project Safe Neighborhoods, and that grant is going to look at how we address firearms in the hands of domestic abusers who should not have access to those firearms, and begin to research and build a statewide response through collaboration. And so that project will begin in earnest next year. But my team has done a tremendous amount of work this year. I'm grateful for the team. We've been handling since the pandemic, just, you know, extreme numbers in domestic violence. And that's been experienced statewide as well as nationally. And, you know, we continue to try to be in front of that and provide the best response that we can on the preventive side, and in order to assist the survivors that are behind. And with that, that concludes my report. I'll entertain any questions if there are any.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question if possible. I apologize. There an echo over to me. Everyone hear me okay? I wanted to ask about the Fatality Review Report. I just asked about that at a previous meeting that I was in with CJCC. That report is so important and so critical. It's critical in many ways. One of them is the ability to make informed decisions in terms of resources, you know, and looking at the lethality rates in each of the areas throughout the state. I don't look forward to the report because of the number, but I do look forward to the report because it's so critical. And so my understanding, you said, is that the first report is completed, correct? Is there any way that we can receive a copy of that report?
Absolutely. I'll see if I can drop it into the chat while we're in this meeting right now. And if not, then I will pass that along to Aura, and I'm sure she can get it distributed to you all. I'm glad you asked that question, and I really encourage everyone to take a look at it. And like I said, this year we've done it differently. It breaks everyone out by region. And so I really encourage you, when you get it, to find your tier, where your county or where you reside, where you are, and look at that and compare it to the other counties in your demographic or in your population tier, and look at, and that's a good way to collaborate, I think, and discuss domestic violence responses for similar areas, because we know that Metro Atlanta and the way that Metro Atlanta counties handle domestic violence responses is going to look different than rural Georgia. And so they need to kind of, collaborate with like areas in order to kind of find what's appropriate. And that's what this report aims to help people do. And so I will definitely make sure I write it to you. If I can't get it in the chat, I'll send it to Ara and make sure that you all have it.
Thank you so much for that. And also, I just want to commend you for your focus on murder suicide. It just seems like there's always an issue, but it just seems like lately you're just hearing about it even more. And so to be able to look at it from an analytical standpoint also is very, very helpful. So I want to thank you for your focus of that and really commend you on the work that you and the commission is doing to make that information available to us as policymakers, and so that we can, guide resources and response accordingly. So thank you so much for that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you, April. Appreciate that report and all the work that your agency does in a very difficult subject for sure. And wish you a Merry Christmas. Okay, we'll move on to our next agenda item, which is old business. I'm not aware of any old business unless someone else is. So we'll check that one off and move on to new business. First item on the agenda for new business is the DCS vote on the proposed changes to DCS board rules affecting the Misdemeanor Probation Oversight Unit. Before we get into this, I'll just make this comment that Ms. Neville and Mr. Lewis and their team with the Misdemeanor Probation Oversight Unit has done a great job of formulating these changes in the proposed rules that you have before you. I, as well as many other providers, were involved in that process and back and forth with their units, and I believe these changes are definitely needed and appropriate at this time. And I'll turn it over to Ms. Neville for further comment.
Thank you, Chairman, and welcome board members. And I hope you guys are already way more than I am prepared for the upcoming holiday season. And I just want to congratulate Tim Lewis for his position as Misdemeanor Probation Director as I move over to HR Director. So he is doing a great job, and I'm happy to help. It is my pleasure to present the MPOU board rule proposal changes to you today for final adoption. Since you were provided a copy of the proposed changes, I will briefly go over the timelines and summarize our changes for today. At our September 16th DCS meeting, I advised that we would be presenting these proposed changes to you. And in the same month, we sent the proposed changes, as Chairman Queen had stated, to all the MPOU providers for review and comments. On October 14th, we submitted the proposed changes to the DCS Advisory Committee for review. And then in October 28th, we published the comments for public comment, or we published the proposal for public comment. We held a formal public comment hearing on December 7th at 10 o'clock, and the meeting minutes for this meeting has also been provided to you. So just in summary, the main features of these proposed changes are to establish clarification and adjust rules to match current statutes and practices as they are necessary for oversight and compliance with the misdemeanor probation. What we did, of course, was change the page numbers on the board rules to reflect the new text. We made adjustments to definitions just to add some clarification. We are proposing entity registration and approval adjustments by adding post statute limitations on who can operate or be employed by probation. We added OCGA 1913 to include FFIT programs and changed the wording from provider center to provider entity. Again, that's kind of goes with our common use of that language. We changed we're proposing to change the general probation responsibilities by adding a statutory reference, 428103.1. We had originally just had 428103. We did make a substantial change in the training and individual development, and that was really just the major part of these proposed board rule changes to truly make the board rules reflective of our current practice. And as Tim Lewis has done an amazing job in the past with updating the training for the providers and making that part of MPOU, we did want to go ahead and change those board rules so that they match the current topics and the current way that we're providing that service and the expectations. The last, or not last, but probation entity reports, we had originally had the due date for those as the 15th of each quarter, and we're going to go ahead and change that to the 30th. So to extend that deadline, we've noticed that a lot of providers do need a little bit more time, and we see no issue with that. So we went ahead and changed those due dates for those quarterly reports. We added in addition to 105-214, addressing a citizen concern, just requesting for the probationer to have the ability to contact the provider to have their records removed or deleted after the certain amount of time that is required by the Georgia Record Act. And then finally, we added the OCGA 1710-1 in reference to restitution in one of our final board rules. So I hope that was good enough. I didn't want to read it to you guys, but I will pass this back to Chairman Queen for discussion and possible vote. And I will be here for any questions or comments.
Thank you, Barbara. Appreciate that. Does any board member or anyone on the call have any questions or comments for Ms. Neville on the proposed board rule changes?
Mr. Chairman, I have one quick question. Barbara, thanks for hard work you've done on this. I did hear in your presentation that there was one comment from a citizen that we did make some adjustments on the proposal, I believe. Was there any additional critical comments that were made during the public hearing time?
No, sir. Pretty much all the comments were just feedback as far as changing some wording as how we had it proposed, but no critical comments or no anything that would have stopped the moving forward of the board rule proposal.
Thank you much for the update.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Terry. Anyone else have any questions or comments for Ms. Neville on the proposed board rule changes? Okay. Hearing none, I'll call for a motion to either approve.
I move we adopt.
I'll second.
Move to adopt from Terry, second from Sonia. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. That motion carries and those rules are approved. Okay.
Thank you, Chairman. And just for the record, these rules will go into effect January 1st, 2022.
Correct. I saw that as noted. Thank you again, Barbara and Tim, for all your hard work on these. It's a very technical process and time-consuming process, and I appreciate your time and effort and your entire staff. And good luck to you, Barbara, in your new role. I'm sure we'll be talking. Okay. And Tim, welcome aboard. Looking forward to continuing your new role as well, too.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay. Moving on, the next item on our agenda is a proposed resolution for the Helena Post for DPS and DCS. And Mr. Knox, you've got this one.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, to the board. This resolution is to authorize the Commissioner of the Department to acquire custody, control, and use of the Georgia State Patrol Post 16 in Helena from the Georgia Department of Public Safety, including assignment of a lease of partial space to the Department of Driver Services and reserving to the Georgia Department of Public Safety only in its sole interest in and continued use of DPS-owned communications tower and equipment on said premises. So this resolution will allow us to take over that post. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Just one question. You may be able to answer this, James. What is this property going to be used for? What is DCS's intended purpose to use this property?
It is office space.
Just office space?
Yes, sir.
Anyone else have any questions or comments on the proposed resolution? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion on the item.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I believe that was from Commissioner Moore to approve and seconded from Chairman Barnard. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Okay. Thank you, James. Appreciate that.
Thank you, sir. I will have that sent to you for signature electronically to all of you.
Very good. We'll get it signed and circulated back to you. Okay, well, that concludes all of our agenda items and our meeting for today. Once again, thank you everyone for taking that time to participate. I sincerely hope that you and your families have a very safe, very happy holiday and a very pleasant new year, and we will see you in 2022.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Great job.